can take a lot of crap, but I just couldn't do that. Going live. All right, let's see. Wow. Yeah, I knew this microphone was attached in a tenuous way. Hold on.
Well, it's the first time that it collapsed in the over 100 shows that we've done. So
that's true. I moved it around to a bunch of different spots though, to try to get the best spot for it. And right now it's attached to a chair, which is really a stupid idea. No, it's completely in the wrong spot. Anyway, Lord, always an excitement. Never a boring moment. Alright, let's see. All messed up. That's like angle's all wrong.
EJ Raddick from ESPN just sent out that he still believes that Toronto is the best option or most likely option for Marty Brodeur.
Yeah.
Quote, if they can figure out the self-created James Reimer mess. It's not self-created.
No.
I mean,
EJ would come on the show, though. We got to get him on the show. He's a good guy.
Oh, EJ Raddick? Yeah, he is.
Yep.
It's honestly, it's like the situation with Reimer is mostly the fact that his play fell off, and they made the trade for Bernier, and Bernier won the job.
Yeah, he's great goalie.
And all this controversy, and only in Toronto could somebody say, "Oh, he played just okay," and it be a dagger in the back of somebody's, a dagger in somebody's heart.
Exactly.
It's just ridiculous, but
it is. It really is ridiculous. It's just, and it's, I don't know. It's not getting any less ridiculous for some reason.
No, but I mean, it's not exclusive to just Toronto. Media markets like Montreal or Philadelphia. If there's, you make an oh by the way comment that really means nothing, and it gets blown so out of proportion that I think it's ridiculous. But
they went out of there in the worst possible way.
Right.
They really do. There's no question about that. I am rearranging my monitors because for some reason, like I have two monitors here, and for some reason my monitors have been whacked with. It's like someone came and did a podcast last night while I wasn't here. Kind of scary. I think I'm ready now. There we go. It's better. Because I have my mouse thing that if I what am I doing? Oh man, now I'm backwards. So if you have two monitors and you have your mouse go off the screen, it should show up on the other screen at some point. But now
I have two monitors set up here, and sometimes I lose the cursor, and I'm like, where the hell is it? And I'm moving the mouse around just to find it, and I'm like, what the hell's going on here?
No, I can't even find any. I can't. I'm doing this exact thing right now. I can wait a second. Display.
Just doing 360 swirls and you can't find it. I'm like, really?
Right.
I'm coordinated, ain't I?
I know. That just doesn't make any sense. All right, arrangement. You go there. I go down here. There we go. Now we got both. Okay, good. Beautiful. So I had to go to figure out my monitor that's up here up top. You just go up to get to was somehow on the right. It's just how that happened. Anyway, why would these things happen? I know why it happened because my son and I are building a MAME arcade machine. And yeah, it's so much fun. I've wanted to do this for a while. We've actually built 3 different kinds, and we're trying to do them differently. Everyone's built a MAME arcade machine that, not everyone, but people who do build arcade machines have built MAME arcade machines that look like normal arcades. They're in a stand-up thing. So I'm trying a bunch of different ways, and I'm trying to do a modern version of this. And so it's really cool. So the one I got was I got this big deck, which is has joysticks, spinners, knobs, everything you can imagine on it. Basically play every game from the 80s, which is all we're interested in making. We're not making fake. So then it's okay, what kind of monitor? Normally we just build a monitor, put it in a cage, and call it a day. So instead we're doing this monitor on the wall. So I got an old TV that's pretty big, and I got one of these swivel. It's a flat TV. It's about 40 inches big. It's old. It doesn't look good with HD TV or anything like that, but it looks good with computer games, which are the resolution of the 1980s. So put it up there, and then some games are, if you remember in the arcade, some games are vertical and some games are horizontal, so the screen will be long or wide. So normally how that's handled in MAME is it just sort of does what that horrible thing where it stretches everything out and makes it look terrible if it's
Right.
lengthwise. And you don't want to play Pac-Man like that. It just looks ridiculous. Like Pac-Man's a vertical game. So what I did is I hooked up to the wall. I put a swivel um, mounting system so I can take the whole TV and turn it.
Oh, so you can make it horizontal or vertical.
Yeah. So I'm like, boom. So I turn it like this, and now it's just it's amazing.
Josh says he's having network issues. He'll get in as soon as he can. So if you want to start,
Stupid Canada. Yep. Yeah.
Stupid.
Yeah.
There he goes. Here he comes.
Oh
There
yeah. Josh doesn't know what the hell he's doing. Josh has never been able to get on the internet. My
Hey,
opinion
there
of
we
Josh
go.
is, oh hey Josh, how are you?
Nice. Yeah, I kept trying to click on the Hangout and wouldn't let me go in, and then my modem crashed. I don't know, something's wrong. I got this modem like not even a year ago, and I'm having issues with it the last couple of days. Yesterday I froze, and then last night I was trying to watch fucking House of Cards. We're live. We're live. Sorry, everyone. We're trying to watch House of Cards on my Apple TV, and it wasn't working. And it's like,
That won't work. Yeah, no, that happens. It's technical difficulty day so far because while you were going, first of all, what you guys didn't see in the chat room, but only Mike thankfully saw, and no one will ever see again, is my kids challenged me to see. I have a long-standing hatred of pigeons, like that goes way back to when I was in college, when a pigeon flew directly into my head. Like I was walking down the street and a pigeon was flying towards me, and it was the kind of thing like I'll go left, he goes right, boom, right into my head. Right.
nice.
That explains a lot.
Yeah, it does. Thanks. Since that day, I've had more run-ins with pigeons than at. Thanks, Mike. I'm here every night. Tip your waitresses. No.
Try the veal.
Since that day, I've had run-ins with pigeons. Like about 2 years ago, I was in front of our house trying to get in, and there was a rabid pigeon on our welcome mat that wouldn't let me pass. It was just screaming at me. And I had what to do, so I had to like climb in a back window. Honest to God, this happened. My family has never believed this story ever because I was up by myself alone and no one saw it. But I'm like literally, I had to go. So yeah, so my kids got me this shirt, this really cheesy shirt that has pigeons all over it, and they're like, "Listen, Dad, if we buy this shirt, you're gonna wear it for the podcast. No, you got me for Father's Day. You're gonna wear it for the podcast, right?" And I was like, "Oh, sure, of course, I'll wear that shirt for the podcast." I tried the shirt on. It looked horrible, like pajamas, like the worst possible thing. So I got up, and went upstairs to change it. And at the moment I went upstairs to change, somehow very serendipitously, my microphone stand, which has been attached, like Mike said, for over 100 shows, collapses. And I just hear this and downstairs. And I come back, and somehow, I mean, had I not gone and changed my pigeon shirt, I would have been killed. So yeah, so that's that's where we are now. Just wanted to leave it, guys. That's the excellent story of the day for all you kids out there.
But can I say something now?
I would love for anybody to say something now, Josh. Please say something.
I wore this shirt, I believe, on the first BuzzCast. This Under Armour shirt.
Yeah.
And it was very tight on me.
Wow, look at that. That's
Look
awesome.
at that. Yeah. Just so I wore that today just for Mike.
Wow. That's wonderful. No, I think it's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. So thanks, Chris, for welcoming us in the podcast, and thanks to others as well. And we'll just leave it there. Okay. So yeah. Let me get my notes together here because 1 second, and then we'll start the show. This is the pre-show. Oh, it's Steve Dangle, and I have been working out a time for Steve to come on the show.
You guys did a little kumbaya?
I wouldn't call it that. Yeah, no, definitely no. It's just if twittering back and forth to each other is kumbaya. Yeah, sure. No, Steve's. I've loved Steve's stuff for so long. I've watched him.
1 second.
Go ahead. Watch out, Mike. Your microphone might go crazy when you leave. Yeah, so no, but no, we're gonna. I'm trying. I asked him to come on tomorrow. I'll see if he comes on or not. He may have not gotten the message yet, but maybe he'll come on tomorrow.
Gotcha.
Yeah, yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah,
I,
I was at the gym. Surprise! Prior to this, and yes, I was doing deadlifts today, and played a little basketball, and now I'm exhausted, and still haven't showered. So good thing it's not smell-o-vision.
it's a great image you put paint there, Josh. So
Yeah, hey, no problem.
it's
No
really
problem.
It's a really good thing.
Really? No, Chris
Josh
says
hasn't showered.
Chris
in
on the
deadlift.
chat just said I see nipples, but I don't think so.
Oh
No.
Lord, we are live.
I'm not saying a thing.
Children are watching.
I was the Genghis Khan of New England.
Um,
100 years ago.
I got one thing to put in. We'll be set and ready to go.
And it's
Um,
Wednesday the 16th.
No, it's not. It's Thursday. Boom.
It's Wednesday.
Oh, it's Wednesday.
I do not lie.
It's been the longest week of my life. It's July 16th, Wednesday. Damn it. Man, I thought it was Thursday. Crap.
You wished.
Oh, Dangle's getting married this weekend. Victor puts in there. Oh, that's a shame. I'm not. No, I know. I don't mean a shame for Steve.
No, that's just me. That's just my
I
sarcastic
didn't know
mind.
that when I invited him on. I feel bad about that. So yeah.
That's just me, my sarcastic mind. I wasn't.
No, it's not. No, it's he's also Josh Cooper's getting married too. I wonder if there's any connection there.
They're both hockey writers. They're both getting married. It's the off season.
Right. Wednesday. Thanks, Kevin. Wednesday, July 16th. Man, this is my last little rant. Okay, and then we will start this thing. You know, our kids. The thing I love about summer when you have kids is that in the winter they get up at like 6 in the morning to go to school, and it sucks. So in the summer you at least get to sleep until like 8. But what happens now is that they're going to camp, which is okay. But now they have like a day camp, and then my daughter's going to volleyball camp. So my days start. You know, I have to pick her up at 10 o'clock at night. So these days just go on and on and on. That's why it feels like it's at least Thursday.
Okay.
That's a really nice. Everybody loved that story. Thanks. Thanks for just giving me at least a
Gonna give everyone fair warning. My cleaning lady is here, so if you hear a vacuum in the background, I apologize.
So there's our guest on the BuzzCast.
Yeah, it's pretty right. Steve's got an opinion on Stamkos.
I'll bring Lena over here. Maybe she knows about what's going on with all the Russians.
Brandon, this is not a Michigan helmet. I want to throw that out there. Brandon Quarter asked me if this is Michigan helmet. This, my friends, is the University of Delaware football helmet.
It looks just like the Michigan helmet, though.
They stole it from the University of Delaware. The University of Delaware's been around longer. They had believe it or not, Michigan's been around a long time. But this is the University of Delaware helmet. I am buddies with my dad. My dad was a University of Delaware football fan, and I went to every University of Delaware football game from like 1980, probably 1978, probably till 1990. Every one.
Oh, I got breaking news on two things.
Okay, well, let's start the show.
Let's start the webcast first, and then go right to the break.
Things. Well, one I'll say before the BuzzCast. I've hit another milestone. I just hit 20,200 followers. So
okay, that's not breaking news. That's news we don't care about.
But I do have two hockey breaking news.
Okay,
let's start there, Josh. All righty, it's Wednesday, July 16th. Smiles. Hi. Hey, Hockey World. It is Wednesday, July 16th, 2014.
I'm Michael Agello.
I'm Josh Brimmer. Can't talk.
Are you sure about that?
How can we try to have the best podcast on the internet when we can't even get this part being right with all of us? I mean, anyway. I'm Eklund, and you're watching the HockeybuzzCast on HockeyBuzz.com, and we appreciate that because it is the middle of July, and there's nothing to talk about. No, just kidding. There is plenty to talk about because it's hockey, and there's always something to talk about. I was telling somebody the other day. They said, talking about hockey in the middle of July must be tough, and I said, not when you're, I've been blogging about hockey in the middle of July forever. Talking about hockey with two other people is actually way easier. So here we go. We're going to start with some news. Josh has some breaking news, which always seems to break. We've learned The 1 o'clock is the hour to do hockey. So go ahead, Josh. What's happening besides your workout regimen?
Well, we do have some Leaf news, but I'll get to that in a second. Florida Panthers have agreed to terms with Brandon Puri on a 2-year contract, and the Toronto Maple Leafs. I said that wrong, actually. Carter Ashton accepts a 1-year, $850,000 qualifying offer from the Leafs, and that's per Renault, whatever. Yeah.
Lavoie, TVA.
Thank you.
No, Loa, come on now.
I gotta work on my French.
You do. Pardon your French, Josh.
Yeah.
I took 4 semesters of it in college, so I can say pomme frite is French fry.
Hmm?
There you go. And poutine.
Yeah. So that's what we got right now.
Oui, je suis charmant. That's what I used to when in my It's good stuff, Josh. It's not. It's good stuff for July 16th, right? I appreciate it. It's very good.
No problem.
Yes. So anyway, yeah. So I mean, that's happening in Florida. I'm sure there'll be a press conference and party to follow.
Nothing huge.
No. Well, you don't expect anything huge, but what I do want to talk about today is Evander Kane, because I actually have spent a blog today about it, and I spent a lot of the last day when I should be outside playing with my children, talking to Western Canadians about Evander Kane. And, I have nothing against Evander Kane. No, I'm just kidding. No. I actually think that for the first time in my existence, and I want to hear what you guys think, what your opinions are of this, and the first time since this whole thing has started, and Evander Kane thing's been going on a long time, believe now that Evander Kane will not start the season in Winnipeg. I actually do think that that's true. And it could just be because of who I talked to, and a lot of those people were in Western Canada, but a couple of them were in the Mid-Atlantic and United States as well. And I just think that I honestly think that Evander Kane is gone. And are you getting that impression at all, Josh?
Yeah, I mean, I've been saying this for a while that I think Evander Kane will be traded. I mean, with what happened this past season and him missing meetings and Paul Maurice benching him and him going on the radio and saying I'm a Winnipeg Jet right now, I mean, the writing's on the wall. I think the Jets are just waiting for the right offer for him because every team and their sister knows that the Jets want to deal him. And I think they're just waiting to see what they can get for him. I think this has been out there before, but I think it'd be maybe a smart move if this could happen and the Toronto Maple Leafs move Dion Phaneuf to Winnipeg in a deal for Evander Kane. I think that might be something that would work great. I think Evander Kane is going to be a star in this league, but he's got to be put in the right situation, and they also got to get him to cut out, the BS, all the stuff that he's done, whether it be on social media or the off-ice stuff. They got to get him, I guess, they got to get him to kind of be a better person and be a better player in the community, and not be, I just think he's been a little too cocky for my taste. And the whole picture with him and the money phone and everything, and I don't know. I just think
no, I mean there's been a lot of
team,
stuff, right?
Yeah, whatever team takes him, they need to fix him basically. And I honestly believe he could be a good player in this league and be a 70 to 80 point forward.
He's got the talent to do that.
Yeah,
no question about it. I disagree with some of the stuff you're saying. It's social media, right? So it's the internet, and it's going to not get better. It's not going to change. In my opinion, Instagram is the new Twitter, is the stuff. Everything this always is changing, right? And the amount of players on Twitter in the NHL is pretty high. But it's probably about, I don't know. I wish I really knew the number on that, but I'm going to guess 20-25% of the NHL players might be on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
But if you go to the AHL, it gets even worse. or better. I mean, like there's 50 to like 75% of the AHLers, and then when you get to juniors, it's like 80-90% of the junior hockey players. So this Twitter is here to stay. Social media and players talking on social media is here to stay. You can't monitor. The idea of the whole thing is that it is themselves, right? So if a team could come in and say, okay, you have to watch what you say on Twitter or watch what you say on Instagram. It's kind of a little bit intrusive to especially to a younger generation who thinks that is where they're allowed to say whatever they want to say. That's their voice, right? They can go out and say what they want to say. Now, I don't know what the precedent is. I've been trying to think about a metaphor, in terms of society, because when you take a job off and you're told you can't do certain things, right? Like you gotta not do this or not do that, but there's not really a precedent for telling somebody that they can't speak their mind or say what they feel. I mean, Mike, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, I mean, he's clearly unhappy with the situation in Winnipeg. I mean, I don't know. I mean, there's been, and I don't want to go into I've heard, racial situations. I've heard, just Winnipeg is too small of a town. I mean, I don't know what the dynamic is there. I'll leave that up to people who are closer on the scene. In terms of, what Winnipeg can get for him, because clearly, I mean, he's an asset. He's a top, 5 pick. He's 23 years old. He's a quality forward. He's under contract for another 4 years at $5.25 million. I mean,
Right.
With Winnipeg in their situation, I would think that they would have to get assets back that are NHL level talent. Young players in the league already who they can hold on to like they can hold on to Kane for another 3, 4, 5 years, because we know the difficulty right now for the Jets to get free agent talent to come to Winnipeg. It's a reality. It's not a statement against Winnipeg. It's just a reality, just like it is in Edmonton.
No, it is. It's definitely a reality, and it's been you talk to players, and they don't want to. Even players who are there, no one wants to diss the town, and the fans are amazing, but if you've got an option of living in Tampa or living in Winnipeg, it's hard to sit back and say that you'd rather live in Winnipeg. I mean, I think even the people of Winnipeg would have to admit that to be true. I mean, and it's nothing against them,
Now, let me just say one thing about something Josh said. Phaneuf has a limited no trade, so I seriously doubt that Winnipeg is one of the teams that he would accept going to. So I don't think that's a likelihood. Because I follow the Leafs and I know their situation, if the Leafs made a play for Evander Kane, Nazem Kadri would probably have to be in the deal. I don't know if that's reality. I don't even know if they've talked to Winnipeg about Evander Kane. Somebody in the chat put together a two and two together in a scenario that would make sense for both teams. How about Ryan O'Reilly for Evander Kane? That's two situations being solved with one deal.
Way more likely than Phaneuf. I do agree with that. Because I don't think Phaneuf doesn't have that kind of value at all. But yeah, Ryan O'Reilly possibly, Josh.
Well, I also want to say that the Jets are also trying to move Byfuglien, I think. When Maurice came out at the end of the year and said that Buff was going to play forward, I know he doesn't like playing forward. He likes playing defense.
He's a defender.
Exactly. So I could totally see the Jets trying to move both Kane and both Byfuglien, but they want to make sure they get good returns on both guys, and they're not going to trade them for a bag of pucks. They want to make sure that they get good value for both players. But I've been told that both players have been shopped around, and there's been teams calling about them, but nothing substantial has been offered for either one of them yet.
Well, are we looking at like a problem for problem trade? Like with these guys, like a Ryan O'Reilly or Tyler Myers or what have you? I mean, it could be that kind of situation.
I need to get Byfuglien, Big Buff on this Purium cleanse that I'm on. Maybe that'll make him a little bit better.
Yeah, don't make jokes about that with Byfuglien around.
Yeah.
No, but I'm with you though. I mean, and he's
and the thing too with him, Eck, is you don't know. I mean, I'm sure he's pissed off that Maurice said at the end of the year that he's going to play forward. What's going to stop him from showing up at camp this year way out of shape like he's done in the past?
Yeah, he has done that, but he's always also, he does play. He doesn't miss a ton of games. He does. He plays a ton of minutes. Whatever you want to say about whatever you want to say about the weight.
A ton of minutes, yes.
Yeah, okay. But whatever you want to say about his weight, he's revered by his teammates. And one of the most popular guys in the locker room. I thought should have been on. I still believe should have been on the American Olympic team.
Yeah, I agree.
I still think that was a really one of those choices that was sort of short-sighted.
Yeah.
So Bufflin's a good possibility, and I know the Flyers have interest in Bufflin, and they have for a while, and the Rangers do too, because if the Flyers do, the Rangers will, and the Rangers do, the Flyers will, right? But that definitely exists. But
And
go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say, I think Kevin Cheveldayoff as well. The guy is on the hot seat. Let's be honest. I mean, he's promised results. He has not gotten results in Winnipeg. He's on the hot seat, so he's going to be careful with what he does, what kind of trade he makes. He wants to make sure
this is going to define him. This is the trade that's going to define him. I mean, this is going to be whether or not if Cheveldayoff, and that one of the sources I talked to, and I wrote about this today, was really close to the situation and said, listen, they're looking to do two things. Winnipeg, they want to move Vander Kane, but they might not be able to get the kind of player back that they need to do that. They might be able to get certain kinds of pieces and really players that make their team better and deeper, but not the big ticket guy. So he really said that he believes this is connected to another trade as well, and he thinks that there will be, because if a guy like, say, Joe Thornton comes in, that gives you some.
Would Joe really want to go to Winnipeg though?
I heard he wasn't opposed to it.
Like if enough doesn't want to go to Winnipeg, I don't know what Joe Thornton.
Though, very different people. Joe is
But Joe wants to win, doesn't he?
He wants to win, but he also wants to be appreciated. He wants to be in a situation that works. And I think he also wants. I think as much as he says he doesn't want out of San Jose, part of him wants out of San Jose because I get a very mixed signals from that whole camp.
Because he's being dissed. I mean, you think that's
at some point, it's like if you're on a team that just can't win, and you're the one who's always going to take the heat for that team not winning. At some point, you're like, okay, you start looking around. You're like, okay, do I want to do this again? Like every year, you have to you show up for camp, and am I going to do the same thing again? So I think that, so I do believe that some of the Evander Kane holdup could be tied to the fact that they need to make this other deal too, right? They need to make another. They need to get, because they're not, the teams they're talking to in Evander Kane, I was told, were Nashville, which is has really been talked about a lot in the last day or two, and Nashville, like I said yesterday, I think they have one more big deal in them, and I heard it was bigger than the other things that they've done. So that could be in Nashville. Tampa, who like we talked about, Evander Kane would probably love to be moved to Tampa, but and Tampa's got a lot of assets. Tampa has a huge amount of assets to make a deal. If any team in the league has the young players or the right kind of pieces to make a deal like this, it would be Tampa.
Now, okay, in that scenario,
if
it's Tampa, if I'm Cheveldayoff, the first thing I'm asking for is Jonathan Drouin.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. If you're Winnipeg, you have to get a young player you can hold on to.
You're going to ask for that, but at this point, that you're not. I mean, you have a better chance with like a Victor Hedman, okay, and now then you're going to. Drouin's just not going anywhere. Drouin, there's a reason they're taking their time with him. They see him as such a studded, and you have to give Tampa some credit in being in the southern market, not bringing Drouin in last year. I still think that's a big thing.
I mean, Drouin is the assumptor of the mantle of Marty St. Louis in terms of a sort of secondary offensive guy. I mean, not to put that much pressure on him because St. Louis could be a borderline Hall of Famer, or probably is a borderline Hall of Famer. But no, from the Winnipeg point of view, and from the fact that Tampa defensively is questionable, and they spent a second pick overall on Victor Hedman, and he's under a pretty reasonable contract right now. Whereas Drouin, right now, you're adding, if you make a deal like that, you're adding an Evander Kane to the team that you had last year, and Drouin is not even, he wasn't even on the scene. So you're adding Evander Kane and not giving up anything other than the prospect that Jonathan Drouin is. And from Winnipeg, they have Bogosian, they have Trouba, they have Bufflin, they're pretty set on defense. They don't need a guy like Hedman. They need a forward they can build around, and Drouin would be the guy. So I mean, I think that makes more sense.
It does, but Josh.
I don't think Tampa's going to move Drouin. I mean, this guy is going to win the Calder this year, in my opinion. I think it was a smart move by Tampa last year to send him down back to junior because he wasn't ready, and that's the mistake that Tampa made with Stamkos in year number 1, back when they had a total different ownership and management team. Smart move by them to send Drouin down, and Drouin had another year of conditioning. I think this kid's going to win the Calder this year. This is going to be now the second coming of Nathan MacKinnon this year in Tampa. This kid's going to be the real deal, and I don't see them moving him, and I don't think Yzerman would want to move him.
And you both may be right, but what I'm saying is, if Cheveldayoff, if he has to hit a home run, if he has to get something substantial back for Evander Kane, it has to be something like that. Otherwise, he gets his clock clean in this deal.
Right, and that's why my source was saying what he was saying. Basically, is he said the teams. So Nashville, Tampa, the Rangers, and Montreal. Okay, 4 teams that I was told. San Jose may have some interest in him. San Jose could be the situation where you can move Evander Kane for Joe Thornton and plus, but that's closer to what you're going to get for Evander Kane. Understanding his value is very low right now, and the value, the negative proposition of bringing him into training camp right now seems to be growing. Right. There's a definite. I will make a statement about Evander Kane though that people need to understand is Evander Kane is not a bad guy at all, and he's actually I know he's out there on social media and he's saying all this stuff, and he's not maybe socially wise to everything, or he's not internet politically correct at all. Mm-hmm. Which you've seen before, we've seen this from players where they make mistakes, on the internet. But at the same time, saying that Evander Kane does a hell of a lot of charity stuff in Winnipeg. He is really I've talked to people who he's helped out. He's a good person. I mean, he's just what's happening is we're seeing your perception is reality, right? So what he's putting out there is not he's not going to sit there and talk about the charity stuff he does because players don't do that, right? So we don't see that.
We're seeing the frustration of him in a scenario that he doesn't like and wanting to get out. Now the 4 teams that you mentioned in your column, if it's if I'm Cheveldayoff and it's the Canadians, I'm asking for Alex Galchenyuk. If it's
now that could happen. Now you're talking about something that is more, that to me is more along the lines of yes. And Galchenyuk is he's a risk. He's still a good player, and he's probably not a risk, but he's still not. He's not established. He's much more of a risk than a Drouin. Even though Drouin's not established in the NHL, Drouin's upside is so high. Now, Tyler Myers for Evander Kane, that's a trade that makes a ton of sense. Now, I know we talked about defensemen. They don't need defensemen. I get that. But remember, this is part of a rebuild, sort of. So this is the idea is you bring him in. Now, suddenly, Bogosian's available. And now Bogosian goes out there and can bring back something very significant. And a forward. Bogosian maybe gets you Couturier or Braden Shen out of Philly.
Right.
Now you're talking about different. Now you're actually seeing the way I think this is going to develop. I think why this is taking so long is these pieces sort of have to work in concert with each other, and that's a tricky one for Cheveldayoff to pull off.
Yeah, and if it's the Rangers, I'm asking for Chris Kreider. If it's the Preds, I'm asking for Seth Jones. You have to be asking for either their best prospect or somebody who's as young or just as young as Kane is that you can lock up for years. If Cheveldayoff does not get that, then he loses this deal, and he cannot afford to lose this deal.
He can't, and that's it. And but he was interviewed the other day, and there was an article in the Winnipeg Free Press. Josh,
we have some Winnipeg Jets news. Come across the board here. The Jets have announced that they've agreed to terms with forward Carl Klingberg on a 1-year, 2-way contract worth $650K.
I lost my pool, man.
Woo! Drop him in your fantasy league.
I know the people in Toronto are crushed. They were waiting for the Carl Klingberg era.
Carl, wait a second. They signed him for what now? I'm going to put this drilled in my head. They signed him for
1 year, 2-way contract, $650K.
oh, it's a 2-way contract. All right, saving myself. Okay, good. Shoot. No, I'm just kidding. No,
He was
yeah,
a high pick. He was a high pick though, guys, in
oh,
2009.
yo, I know he was. And
Draft
and it's a good. I mean, and I love these are actually to me. At the end of the day, Josh, I'm joking about this stuff just because it's the kind of day it is, and because I wore a Pigeon shirt earlier. But besides,
Nice.
to me, this whole these are the kind of signings that actually turn out to be the ones that matter. It's the funniest thing. It's like these actually, more often than not, are the players who turn into something that, like that fourth line in the playoffs, that takes a team through. It's just crazy.
Well, I mean, I know this is sort of one of those insignificant signings, but the New York Rangers signed Matthew Lombardi to a 2-year contract yesterday. That's a guy who 3 or 4 years ago had a great season with, I believe it was with Phoenix, and he signed a big free agent deal with Nashville. He had a concussion like in the second game of the regular season. He's never been the same. He went to Toronto. He didn't play well there. Went back to Phoenix. Now he went to Switzerland for a year, and now he's back with the Rangers.
But did you see the numbers he put up, Mike, in Switzerland?
I didn't, but I mean, I know that
from 46 games, he had 20 goals and 30 assists.
Oh yeah, he's got high-end skill, and I think that's what I'm saying. This is sort of a no-lose signing for the Rangers, because after losing all the fourth liners that they lost, after losing Boyle, after trading Derek Dorsett, you bring in a Lombardi and play him on the fourth line. He can kill penalties. He's got speed. He's got skill. I think that those are the signings, and we've talked about this yesterday. Those are the signings that from now until the beginning of training camp in September, these are the difference-making signings to teams who are in the mix for playoffs or are considered top contenders for the Stanley Cup. You add a guy who can contribute in a bottom six role for less than $1 million, and he's got the skill like that. That's invaluable.
He's healthy, Lombardi. Lombardi's a player. I mean, when he's healthy, he can move. He can move the puck. He's a good playmaker. He's got skills, and like he did tear up the Swiss League. And by the way, speaking of the Swiss League for a second, I got a really great email from Marcus, and I will talk. I'll bring it up tomorrow, Marcus, because he actually corrected me on some of my facts about the Swiss Bern franchise, and also other things in Switzerland. They were really good. Really good. How dare you bring facts into the conversation, Marcus? But yes. I swear to you. Okay, now he says that Mike Gartner never played for the Bern team. But Ray Ruslainen I was right about. He was definitely. And this is granted. This was like 20 plus years ago, so my memory is not that great. But there was somebody like Mike Gartner that played on that team. If Gartner didn't, so I got to find out. I have a scrapbook I kept of that whole trip, so I'm gonna dig that out of my closet and show some pictures of that, because I know I took a picture of Gartner. Or maybe it was just a guy named Gartner who I thought was Mike Gartner at the time. I don't know. But anyway, yeah. I mean, the Swiss League is not a not competitive league. Lombardi put up numbers over there. That's something, Josh. You're right. I mean, those numbers are significant.
Absolutely. I mean, I don't know how many games you play in the Swiss League. 46 games he played. I think they have a shortened season there. Maybe 50 games? Do they play 50 games maybe in a season?
Something like that.
So, I mean, it looks like he was relatively healthy this year, and 20 goals, 30 assists ain't bad. And if you look back at 06-07, he did 20 goals, 26 assists with the Calgary Flames, 46-point season.
Oh, yeah.
So if the guy could stay healthy, I mean, he could put up reasonable numbers. Even look at what he did in Phoenix, 09-10, he had 19 goals and 34 assists in 78 games. That was the last season in the NHL that he played more than 75 was 09-10 with the Coyotes, 53 points in 78 games. So, I mean, if the guy could stay healthy, obviously he could perform. I mean, he played 2 games in 2010-11. He played 62 with the Leafs the following year, had 18 points, playing third, fourth line minutes basically. Lombardi was, but I think he could be a top 6 guy if he stays healthy.
Yeah, if he's healthy, he's fine. I mean, he's a fast player. He obviously had some, bad injury issues all along, and that's been the, guys who depend on their speed, like he does, speed and quickness. He's a quick guy too. He's not just speedy, but he's very quick as well. Mike?
There was a Gardner, Ryan Gardner, who played for the Bern Polar Bears.
Gardner. Very good.
Gardner.
That's not it, though. I swear to you. I got to pull out my tickets and my stuff.
Okay,
And
give me a year. Give me like when the off
it
after.
it would have been 19. It was like between 1990 and 1992.
Okay.
And it might have been they played against Gardner. See, that's what I'm not quite sure about. So that's. I was trying to do the same thing. It might have been somewhere in there.
Yeah, I'll do some research after the webcast.
Yes, I appreciate it. It's very important to me that I prove Marcus wrong. I'm just kidding, Marcus. There's way more about Bern does not mean bear. It just happens to be their mascot. I apologize for all this, but I was a kid.
I want to bring up something with you guys, and I mean it's not really hockey related, but it's kind of Canada related, and that's Bud Selig's comments at the All-Star game saying that that a team might move back to Montreal. I mean, they were very impressed with the 2 preseason games in Montreal, and I think that'd be good for. I think that's good for the Canadians if the Expos come back to Montreal.
Well, I mean, my opinion is that you got a couple franchises in Florida, especially in the National League with the Marlins and the American League with the Tampa Bay Rays. That one of the organizations is good and they draw nobody, and it just seems like that the appetite for baseball is satisfied by spring training, and these teams, even when the Marlins were contenders and they won 2 World Series, they really didn't draw a ton. So I mean, Montreal was a good franchise until the last owner was in there, and you got the crumbling Olympic Stadium, which is probably one of the biggest jokes of a ballpark in Major League Baseball.
Yeah.
You put a new ballpark there, I think that they would be successful on the level that the Blue Jays are. Now the Blue Jays are in Toronto, and the population of Toronto is vastly larger than Montreal, but there is a history there, and if you put a decent team there, I think it could draw. I would connect this to what we were talking about yesterday regarding expansion and regarding teams in the NHL being moved around. I think that going back to Quebec City is a must for the NHL. If they're going to move a team, if there's going to be a team in Canada, I think that Quebec City, I think that the Nordiques coming back should be ahead of Toronto, the second team in Toronto. The second team in Toronto should be an expansion team, like for the reasons we said, but if there's a team being transferred from another area, it should go to Quebec City first.
It's funny about Quebec City, but I don't want to touch. We got a lot to talk about there. Let's put a pin. Let's take a couple notes on this. I want to go back to that Montreal baseball thing because I think that's a really interesting point. But the Quebec Nordiques, I had a discussion. I was out not too long ago with a French Canadian player, an NHL player who I talked about Quebec with. And I said to him, I said, what are your thoughts on? And he's like, as much as you want to see the Montreal Nordiques rivalry, the Canadians Nordiques rivalry return. He's like, I think that it's more Quebec City is more romanticized than people realize, and this is coming from a French Canadian player. Okay, because I'm 100% with you, Mike. I'm like, I want to see the Nordiques come back, and I'm like, I can't wait. I know I've talked to Marty Biron before, who was like a huge Nordiques fan growing up, but this guy said, I just don't. He said the problem is this. He said the problem is the money. A lot of these big businesses, French businesses, have offices in Montreal and offices in Quebec. Right, and they have offices in both places, and right now, they're buying the big suites in Montreal, and they're the ones who are buying the big corporate money.
Right.
Because they're not going to probably shift to Quebec in his mind. Like they're not going to suddenly do the same there. Excuse me, but so he really thinks it could be a disaster. I was really surprised by this. Because I loved it. I mean, I love the Nordiques. Loved everything about the Nordiques. I mean. And he said Nordiques have a really romanticized thing right down to the uniform. He said that everything about the Nordiques is really like a romantic memory. He said, but he wonders now if there was actually in the day and age now where you need to sell luxury boxes and corporate sponsorships and suites, would the Nordiques really succeed? He said it's still hard to get the it was really interesting. It's still hard to get the Canadian fans on that side, of it would be hard to get the Montreal Canadian fans to become Nordiques fans again, and it would be in a similar way to he said, like he said, the Montreal thing is so big. He compared it to Ottawa too, and he said the Ottawa Senators have done it. He said a horrible job at marketing to the Gatineau and the Quebec across the river. Like it's really close, but those people are Canadiens fans, and they're right. They're literally right in the Ottawa's backyard, but they're still Canadiens fans. He's like they haven't done they haven't done a good job. And if they did a better job, he said and put the stadium in central Ottawa, things would be a whole lot different. But
right,
so much depends on so many aspects of it. I thought it was interesting, Mike.
I mean, you just said the main drag on the Ottawa situation is the fact that they built the arena in Canada and not in downtown Ottawa. I mean, you've got 3 franchises in the NHL that have been undone or had been punished because of the location of their building. The Panthers with Sunrise, the Glendale situation with the Coyotes, and Ottawa building it out and Canada outside of Ottawa, on a lone strip of highway. It's idiotic. Now, I think that if you build it, they will come in Quebec City. If they build an arena, I think that it's not going to be a problem.
Well, they're building it. I mean, it's going up, right? I mean, that arena is going up. And do you know any idea, Josh, or anybody in the chat room, where the arena is in Quebec? Is it right downtown? Is it in a good spot or a bad spot? I mean, because that could matter.
I have no idea. But I wanted to get your opinion as well. I mean, I brought this up a second ago about the Expos. Doesn't that help the Toronto-Montreal rivalry even more if the Expos come back? Because
for sure.
You have the Expos and the Blue Jays, and then in the winter you have the Canadiens and the Leafs. I think that makes that rivalry even stronger if the Expos come back to baseball.
Well, I wonder if it would be it would make sense for them to put them in the same conference as the Blue Jays, right? I mean, I'm so bad with baseball. Oh my God, come on now.
Sorry.
Oh my God.
What are we? I'm sorry.
Not the National League.
The
American League.
Thank you. Good Lord. Sorry, but it would make sense. Like the Expos were in the National League, right? And I know the Blue Jays are in the American League. So that it would make sense. I think you would want to put them in the same division somehow. That would really be good for the rivalry. Mm-hmm. If they were in opposite leagues, really, I don't think it would affect it as much because they would play like once a year or whatever, maybe in interleague play. But
the new arena in Quebec City is going to be 18,500 seats, and it's being built in downtown Quebec City. So
right,
they're doing it the right way.
Bomb says it's right. Bomb in the chat says it's right across from the old Pepsi Coliseum.
Yeah,
which is where
across from
the Queen's picture. What happened to the Queen's picture from that old? Remember that was the big thing about playing in Quebec back then. Like
that was Winnipeg that had the.
That was Winnipeg, man. I'm an idiot. All right,
Winnipeg Arena. But
boy, just ignore me. But what happened to the Queen's picture of Winnipeg Arena? Anybody know?
I don't.
That's like one of those things. I wanted.
Someone had a really nice souvenir.
It's in for retouching. They had to turn her hair gray and everything. But no, I mean, I think Quebec belongs in the Atlantic Division, playing Montreal, Buffalo, Boston, Toronto, the old Adams Division rivalry back in the day. I mean, I think Montreal-Quebec games would be fantastic. Quebec and Ottawa would be a pretty decent rivalry too, as well for proximity purposes. I mean, I think it's a no lose for the NHL, but I think it has to be a team transfer because I don't think you can go back to Quebec City with an expansion franchise and expect them to wait 7 years for a winner. It has to be a team that is close to being at least a playoff contender.
I don't know. I think they could do okay with an expansion. I don't know. It depends. I guess it depends on how the expansion thing. There's so much talent now. It depends. I mean, there's definitely the people are saying there's a big pharmaceutical thing going on in Quebec right now, which is awesome, and that there would be sponsorship there. And I think that there's a really good chance, and the arena itself actually is by Quebec Corps, which is a cable company, I think. Yeah. So there's definitely already sponsorship going, and I know. I'm telling you right now, there's going to be a team in Quebec. There is. It's happening. I know the people involved. I know they wouldn't have even started the arena if they didn't think that was going to be if that was going to be possible. And if you remember way back when, it's like 5 years ago now, when Bettman went and a bunch of NHL people went up there and talked to them, and that's pretty much when they started building the arena. So it wasn't exactly terrible.
And they've been quiet. If they've been fairly quiet. I mean, people have mentioned, like we're doing right now, have mentioned Quebec as a potential landing spot, but they haven't been doing the Jim Balsley thing of trying to go out and filch franchises. I think they're playing the game. They're playing the game the right way, and when the opportunity strikes, they're gonna benefit from it. But
that's how you have to play the game.
And that's what I think is going to happen in Seattle as well, Ak.
Yeah, and it is already happening in Seattle, and they've been playing the game well in Seattle. There are people involved. I know people involved in that whole process, and they're incredibly, like you can't even say anything about it. There's because of what happened with Balsillie, any news about franchises and things like that leaking just won't happen. But if it does happen, you can just count the franchise out. Like it's not going to happen. The NHL just has like a Lou Lamoriello-esque type attitude towards rumors being spread about franchises. And basically they say if this gets out, just consider the deal done. So you won't hear about these things until they are announced. Just like you didn't really, with Winnipeg you heard about it a little bit, but you didn't hear about who was really involved until it actually was very close to coming down, pretty much tied up. Baseball in Montreal, though, just to finish on that thought too, real quickly. I really am a big fan of. I mean, I know a lot of people who hold a lot of. I mean, Russ Cohen's one of them who hold a lot of admiration and a lot of like fond memories of the Expos.
Sure.
They were and how that team was. I think Russ Cohen even wrote a book about it. I'm pretty sure he did about the dismantling of that team.
I know that there's a guy named Jonah Carey who's made a number of appearances on Toronto radio. I know he works for one of the big outlets. I think maybe Sports Illustrated, who just wrote a book about the history of the Montreal Expos. And that team, the '94 Expos, they were screwed by the work stoppage in Major League Baseball because they were one of the best teams in the league and had Pedro Martinez and Larry Walker and a number of players, and they probably would have made the World Series for the first time of the franchise, and because the league shut down, they missed out on their opportunity, and then a lot of their players were spread out around the league at the following year. So I would like to see it. Maybe they don't have to be a National League team. Maybe they can go to the American League. Maybe they would set up a Toronto-Montreal rivalry in the American League. I don't know. All I know is I would be in favor of it, but they would have to need a new stadium there if they're going to do that.
A little bit of news here, guys. Tyler. No. But mediocre signings. Tyler Pitlick and Curtis Hamilton both signed their qualifying offers of $850K from the Edmonton Oilers, both two-way deals as well.
Okay.
Nothing huge.
No, I do have some good. I thought I wanted to end today's podcast before we take a couple questions on something that I thought was really positive. And that is, and someone mentioned in the chat room, and I was going to talk about it. So Main Street, thank you for bringing it up. And I read here that actually 10,000 plus people last night show up for the prospect scrimmage in Buffalo.
Wow.
July. That is something. It was just. I mean, it is a crazy thing. I mean, that is so awesome. I mean, and this just shows what always Buffalo Sabres fans are. Every time the ratings come out as to the Winter Classic games or even the Stanley Cup Final games, even games that the Sabres are not even involved in. Right. Buffalo's always among the top-rated hockey market in the country, and I can tell you flat out, on our site, Buffalo's one of the best cities, and they always have been. We've got great Buffalo writers. We've had different people working there at different times, but it's absolutely there's the passion for hockey in Buffalo. It is like the most Canadian American city, just hands down, right? Josh?
Right. Yeah, and I want to add about Buffalo as well. For those who play fantasy hockey, you might want to, if he's available, you might want to take Grigorenko as a sleeper this year. Apparently, he's checked into the prospects camp 10 pounds heavier, more muscle and a new outlook, and he thinks he's going to have he's put on more speed in the offseason, so he's pretty pumped about this year. He believes he's going to be more explosive and faster this year, guys.
Well, his outlook in the first couple years. I mean, if it didn't change, something was wrong because his outlook was pretty, and the organization's treatment of him were pretty bad. I mean, he was not ready as an 18-year-old, and because of the fact that he was not 20, he couldn't go down to the American League, so he was sort of put back in the Quebec Major Junior League when I think he really wasn't challenged by the level of play there. It is a statement on how hungry the city of Buffalo and Sabres fans are for for good news about this organization. That 9,000 or 10,000 people showed up at First Niagara for the prospects scrimmage. Now the thing is, and this mitigates it. They want to get a look at a lot of players who they're probably not going to see this year because Sam Reinhart more than likely is going to go back to the Western Hockey League. Ristolainen and Zadorov and a number. They have like a dozen first and second round picks in the pipeline in the organization that a lot of people want to check out. But most of these players are not going to be on the Sabres this year. So and it was free. So and it was a nice place to go on a warm July evening. But not casting aspersions against Sabres fans. They want to see the young players on this team that in a couple years will probably be the core of a rising Sabre organization. So good on the Sabres fans in Buffalo.
Oh, I completely agree with you. And this is a great. I mean, to me, I mean, you can say it's free, you can say other stuff, but it's this unquenchable thirst for hockey that area has. And this is part of the reason why players who go there. I mean, you talk about Winnipeg being a hellish place to live. I mean, Buffalo's not exactly, Mike, a walk in the park. I mean, it's not exactly your summer vacation spots. But yet players want to go there. Players want to be in Buffalo, and players want to stay in Buffalo after they've retired. So it becomes a really. It's got such a great passion, and I honestly, in the back of my mind, want that to be where Connor McDavid goes, just because I would love to see what excitement that would bring to that kind of a city. We see guys, guys go to sometimes these top guys go to cities that don't necessarily have the same kind of passion. I mean, we rarely see passion cities with that kind of fan base get first overall potential, superstars.
Well, yeah, I mean, the Sabre organization has only had the first pick overall twice in their history, I believe. But Pierre Turgeon in '87 and Gilbert Perreault in 1970. Perreault was the face of this franchise for 15, 16 years and a Hall of Famer and a phenomenal player. Yeah. If they got a Connor McDavid, he would, for all indications, he's the type of franchise-changing player that Perreault ended up being. That's a lot of pressure on a 17-year-old kid, but apparently he has that kind of talent.
He would own the city. Josh, go ahead.
We have some more breaking news. In Leafland, the Maple Leafs just announced that they have signed Peter Holland to a 2-year contract.
Okay, these are the restricted free agents that the Leafs had who did not go to arbitration: Holland, Gardner, and Ashton. So they got him under a 2-year deal. I'll bet anything that the money is around $1.1 million at most.
Do you think it's a 2-way deal or a 1-way deal?
He probably gets a 1-way deal. He's
spent some time in the A last year.
Yeah, he split time with Anaheim between their AHL and NHL team, but I think that they like him enough that maybe in the second year it's a 1-way, maybe the first year it's a 2-way.
I just remember how hyped up this kid was when he was drafted. I mean, he went 15th overall in 2009, and a guy that spent a lot of time being. He played third and fourth line minutes with the Leafs, and in Anaheim he was playing third and fourth line. And when he was down in the AHL, his numbers were not that impressive to me. Actually, you know what? Not bad. 14 games last year, 5 goals, 5 assists, and. In Norfolk, he had at 45 games, he had 39 points. So I guess in the AHL, he's been hovered around a point per game. But. He
played really well in the American League playoffs for the Marlies. And, I mean, the thing is that when Bozak and Boland were hurt for about a 10-game span, he played with Lupul and I think Mason Raymond and played really well. He's the type of guy that if you play him with skilled players, I think it accentuates his talent. I don't think he's suited well for a bottom six role. But if the Leafs are going with a a 4-line attack, then I think this is the type of guy who plays a depth role but gets some quality, some quantity in terms of ice time and quality line mates.
Yeah, I agree. Let's take some questions from the chat room. So let's see. We had a bunch of them, so I'm going to go back a little bit. Are the Flyers done? Evan Adkins asks, are the Flyers done? Why no interest in Setaguchi? What is Hexy doing? The Flyers are not done, and I'm not saying they don't have any interest in Setaguchi either. I haven't heard his name mentioned, but Setaguchi's like the next. It got to be one of the next ones to fall, right? Because where we're looking right now, he's another one who's going to get like a $1.5 million 1-year contract from somebody. The Flyers don't have any money right now, and if they can't figure out any way of getting money, and they can't find any way of moving Vinny Lecavalier, then it's just not going to happen, So that's the issue right now. I mean, Ville Laino is another one they like, and I think Giroux is pushing for. So I think that there's some real options there. But what Hexy's doing is trying to clear cap space. That's what Hexy's doing. Let's get to another question here. What are the Red Wings going to do on defense next season? They need to do something, or they aren't making the playoffs. They sure do, Derek. Yeah, Derek asked that question. What are the Red Wings going to do on defense? They're trying to get Tyler Myers. We've talked about that a couple times. But besides that, the Wings are in a weird spot right now that they can't. This is the first time I really ever remember the Red Wings being in a spot where they usually get the free agents they go for.
And right now they have DeKeyser, who I think has played well in the 2 years that he's been there. He's a restricted free agent, and it's a question of I question Kenny Holland's signing of Kyle Quincy to as much money as he signed him for, because I don't think he's really equal the value of. I think it was $4.25 million.
Yeah.
I think he's a solid defenseman. I don't think he's a $4+ million defenseman. And it's not like Detroit is a place where you have to overpay to be a destination like Edmonton or.
But at this
Winnipeg.
point, they had to. I mean, at the point they got him, remember, they kind of had to. I mean, they had lost out on a bunch of players, so suddenly there's only a couple more cars on the lot,
Right.
I mean, that was the thing. What does Cody Tux fans ask? Does the Cody Franson contract talks go through to arbitration hearings or get settled beforehand? What do you guys think on that one, Leaf people?
I think he gets traded.
You think Cody Franson get traded?
Yeah. I still have that weird feeling.
Yeah, I either think the history here is that Franzen he held out the 1 year until just before the season, and Carlisle, at the end of the year really, said that affected his play. The previous year he held out for, I think, some of training camp and signed late because Ron Wilson had never used him, and Carlisle actually gave him, an opportunity to play, and he played well.
Exactly.
I don't. Third time will not be a charm for the Leafs if they get the impression that he's going to hold. First of all, he's going to arbitration, but so there isn't going to be a holdout. But if they think that it's going to be a situation where he gets like $3 million and they don't think he's worth that, they're not going to walk away from the deal. So what they'll do is they'll trade him. I think they compromise on, say, a 2-year deal, or he gets traded, and I would lean towards a trade.
Yeah, there you go. I can see that. Jagerbomb, who I believe is a woman in our chat room. Woohoo! Thank you, Jagerbomb. What in the world are my Arizona Coyotes up to? We need offense. Any rumors? You are definitely a rarity, Jagerbomb. You're a Coyotes fan in our chat room and a woman, which is good. You like that, both those things. The Arizona Coyotes, still hard to say, right? They are. I like what they've done so far, and I honestly think that they are going to make. They typically, this is a destination that Setaguchi could go to, and I've heard his name mentioned before there, and I do honestly feel that would be a good spot for him, as would be a good spot for Ville Laino, who I think could thrive in the right position too, as long as he's playing the right position.
Wing.
As long as he's playing on the wing and not putting him in center. They really, you remember, I mean, the Mike Smith thing last year just killed him because, it started off the year where Mike was just kind of struggling and wasn't living up to his contract. Then he came on like gangbusters, and then that injury just knocked him out of the playoffs. But I'm a big Mike Smith fan, and I think the Coyotes are right there again, back in the playoffs. They definitely need offense, and Rumors rumors out of Arizona right now are always hard to get.
Yeah, but you just look at who's left and who's come in. I mean, I like Sam Gagne. I think he's a talented forward, and that was a good
Me too.
addition.
It's a steal.
But
I thought that was a steal of a trade too.
yeah, but they lose Verbata. They buy out Ribeiro. Ribeiro was a failure there. Shane Doan is 36 or 37 years old. They're probably a year or two away from guys like Max Domi jumping up from junior and joining the team. So really, I think they need to plug the hole and find a couple veteran players who can provide some offense. If the guys like Booth and Setaguchi are out there, maybe they fit in some way. Like you said, maybe Leno, but I think or maybe a trade. I mean, they've got cap room. They could take on somebody who might be making, too much money someplace else. Maybe that's a home for Joe Thornton. I mean, I don't think he would complain going to the desert of Arizona rather than go to Winnipeg.
Right. No, I'm with you on that one. Last but not least, Dude Matthias, or Mattis. Ek, any chance the Habs get Patrick Sharp? I don't think Evander Kane is realistic if Galchenyuk is being asked back. Josh, your thoughts on that?
No, I don't see Sharp going to Montreal. I don't know where he's going to go, if Chicago even moves him. I know they don't want to trade him. However, they need to do something because they're up against the cap, and they're going to have to worry about signing a lot of their other kids as well. So yeah, I don't see him going to Montreal.
I think that Galchenyuk is worth it. I think I would do Evander Kane for Galchenyuk. As much as I do like Galchenyuk, and I think he's a star player, I don't think he's a Evander Kane star player. And it's a hard thing to say. And there's a very in Montreal, and I've talked to Montreal people who admit this as well. Montreal has such a love affair with their own players. Sometimes they and it's a wonderful thing. I mean, to play there in the city, people who play there they just think it's the greatest thing in the world. But remember, I remember being there for the All-Star game, and when Kovalev was there, and Kovalev was kind of the star of that All-Star game. Remember, he was really great. Scored that I think it was a shootout goal to win the game, maybe even. Mm-hmm. He was a hell of a player. And the admiration and love that place had for Alexei Kovalev was unbelievable. And it was great. But I've been in other cities where Kovalev had played too, and people were hard on him, saying, he shows up sometimes, doesn't show up other times. That never happened in Montreal. Galchenyuk is a great player, and he's a great signing and a really good American player. But I think that if you can get Evander Kane for him, you do it. I just think you have to do it. I think Evander Kane, Montreal Canadiens fans would hate that for the first 5 seconds the trade happened, but then the first game Evander Kane played as a Montreal Canadien, they would be like, Galchenyuk, who I honestly feel that way because I think Evander Kane's that good. That's my opinion on that one.
Regarding Sharp, I would be surprised if Sharp gets moved this summer, and that he probably would be moved before the draft or before July 1st next summer after the new cap number comes out. Because if you look at the way the Blackhawks are constructed right now, they bring in Brad Richards up the middle. He needs wingers to play with to be effective. I mean, if you can put Sharp and maybe Marian Hossa with him or put Kane with him or something, then I think that makes that signing even more effective. And the reason, I mean, obviously next year the Kane and Taves contract kicks in, but Brandon Saad is a restricted free agent at the end of this year. He's probably going to have to be signed, probably up to a long-term deal. I don't think they want to risk the whole bridge deal thing with him. He could be a future star, man. He played very well this year. They're probably going to need the cap room to sign him, so that's when I think they'll move Sharp, is at the end of this year. I think they're going to go for it all this year.
They are, and there's no reason for them not to. I mean, they have another chance to win a third Stanley Cup, and at some point, if you win 3 Stanley Cups in 5 or 6 years, that's as close as a dynasty as you're going to get in this NHL era. So Chicago has a chance to really do something historical this year. They could have done it. They could have won 4. They could have won this year very easily. So it's very, they're going to stay there. It's fascinating. People in the chat room still they think that they wouldn't trade Galchenyuk for Evander Kane. Josh, your thoughts on that one? Would you trade Galchenyuk for Evander Kane?
I like Galchenyuk a lot, guys. I don't think I'd do that, to be honest with you. I think Galchenyuk's going to be a stud in the league as well. I think Kane is going to be an offensive, not offensive, but a power forward, if you will, 70 to 80 point forward if he's in the right situation. Galchenyuk, I think, is going to be 90 to 100. I really like Galchenyuk a lot. If Montreal deals him for Evander Kane, it might be the worst deal they've ever made.
I think that what people see is the fact that Galchenyuk is a natural center, and that right now they've played him at center, they played him on the wing. He's 20 or 21 years old. In a couple years, he's going to be ready to move to the middle. He'll be more smarter defensively. He'll know how to play his position better at the NHL level, and they see him developing into a top two-line center, whereas Kane is probably a top-line winger, but as we know in this league, centers are invaluable. I understand people not wanting to trade Galchenyuk for Kane. I'm just saying that if they want Kane, that's the price they're probably going to have to pay.
Yeah. I mean, I could be wrong. I could totally be wrong. I think that when, we won't know for, another decade, so we'll have,
right.
On the HockeybuzzCast on July 16th in 2024, we will discuss who was right in this one. But, to me, I just I don't know. I just think that Galchenyuk is really is going to be a great player, but I think that Evander Kane is more of a star and will and in the right situation puts up 40, 45 goals, and I don't think Galchenyuk's going to do that. I don't think he's going to be a 40, 45 goal scorer. That's my opinion. But hey, we could be wrong. I mean, I understand not wanting to trade him because he's been there for a long time, but I don't know. I'm not so sure because Montreal definitely needs offense. They need offense. They just do. I mean, we saw that last year. They just need offense. Who's going to provide more? I don't know. But Josh and everyone in the chat room at least seems to be on your side on this one.
What can I say, guys? I'm not just a pretty face.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's your appeal, your natural physique and appeal that has won you over.
I'm not going to flex or anything, but.
On that note,
I want to keep my lunch in my stomach.
Thanks for joining us today on the HockeybuzzCast on HockeyBuzz.com. We'll be back again tomorrow. You can follow Josh Rimmer at Josh Rimmer Hockey. You can follow Mike at Mike in Buffalo. You can follow me at Eckland or to the store, which is where I'm about to go. Because I need food really badly. We don't have any food in this house. We'll be back again tomorrow. Remember, without the buzz, it's just hockey. Thanks to everyone in the chat room for joining us. See you then.